Okay, so welcome back. Alright, so we're picking up Ardanyan's Revenge, the next video here. Alright, just to recap, the characters had just found their way through the cavern above the Kaer and left the Kaer only to be ambushed by some elves. Now, as the characters are going to learn, the elves are part of a larger conspiracy that they're about to discover when they interrogate the elves that tried to capture or kill them. All right, a couple things. The party got a full legend point reward for a difficult battle, so each character got the full award of 75 legend points. I did the math on it, started to roll out the healing. It would take the characters at best conditions 2 days to heal up. Probably it would take 3 days to heal up. It might be shorter if they used healing potions, and it is very much likely that the group was sent out with some healing potions by Councilman Hardman, right, or whatever the guy's name is, who equipped them before leaving the Kaer. So it can be a little shorter in healing time, but still, wounds don't heal quick, and the Obsidian took 2. So again, it probably took them 2 or 3 days, even with the elementalists doing the healing combination of air mattress and heat food. If you do those 2 things, and you do them enough, you can get everybody a +6 on their recovery test for their first recovery test for the day. But you know, most of these characters only have 2 recovery tests. The 2 warriors have 3. Scathra and Garn have 3 recovery tests, but still, it takes a while to heal up, especially when you got wounds. Those take much longer. So what the characters did is they first interrogated the elves. I'll roleplay that out in a sec. And after that, they probably tied him up and left him in the cave, hoping that somebody would come and get maybe one of their associates. Or, I mean, they could have been a bit more brutal. They could have just slit their throats. It's fine. Depending on what the party's going to do. Otherwise, they'll have to drag him into town, and that might cause further problems. Alright, so a couple things I wanted to mention for starting this is that, I don't know if you noticed, but in the last session I circumvented a couple combats. The reason why I did that is because, I don't know if you've noticed, but these videos tend to be, so far, long combat videos. It's an hour-long combat in Earthdawn. And some people like that and some people don't. Yep, sometimes it could be sped up based on the luck of the dice if you roll through your enemy or they roll through you. But otherwise, it's an hour long. The last few combats I've run. So you got some things here. If you're trying to make this a few shorter sessions and you want to make your combat matter, you might encourage the characters to do alternates around, to find a workaround for a combat. So with the krill worms and the, I don't know if you noticed, or the manta rays, the shadow mants in Earthdawn they're called, the flying manta rays that the windling saw and the krill worms that she saw. She informed, she scouted ahead, she saw them, and because they left the creatures alone, they left the party alone, and they did not intrude on their space. I thought that made sense story-wise, and honestly, a fight with them would not have added any it would have been boring, honestly. The storyline is with the Kaer trying to find their masters and what happened, and so the conflict should focus on that and not be distracted by basically what would have been a random encounter. However, there are a couple things that could be interesting here. Scorth could go back into, if you have a Nethermancer or a Beastmaster, and they have the scouts, they have the ability to command flyers or to command night flyers or to, do like any kind of beast control. That can have some great role-playing opportunities of sending basically a scout ahead of the party to see what's out ahead. So that can be useful. I think Scorth has Dark Messenger, but I don't think he has the talent Command Night Flyer. I think that's a talent. And let me double check to see when Nethermancers get those or whether that was an option I skipped in his character creation. Okay. Disciplines. Alright, the Nethermancer has an option to get Command Night Flyer as a talent option for the novice talents. He has not selected that though at this time. Alright. However, if you have a Beastmaster, maybe they could have tried to talk to these creatures. I don't remember the exact rules for Beastmasters and trying to control creatures. I know more regular beasts, they have an easier time, but for more monstrous beasts, they have a harder time in commanding them, and it basically depends on the creature description, too, whether or not they'll be able to communicate, control, that kind of a thing. Alright, what else? A couple things. So, again, it's up to the GM to curate and control what's going to happen in his or her game, right? So I know in like OSR D&D, one of the big things is random encounters, and sometimes you can have what's called an immersion story develop because of the random encounters, and they use up play character resources and stuff like that. You can have some drama develop from that, but sometimes they're just boring and they don't really develop the story, and it's just here's some XP for some combat, which is not a lot, because a lot of times in OSR style D&D, you're getting the bulk of your XP from treasure and or magic items, not from combat. So again, but however, combat is sometimes a lot faster in OSR style D&D. So it's either, you know, a little bit of this or a little bit of that. However, a lot of times in D&D, your options are limited to roll to attack, miss, 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 hit, a little bit of damage, and then you just, you know, drag that out until one of the sides is defeated, and can be a little dull. Earthdawn, you've got a lot more options, but sometimes it can be dull because the combats last forever. Okay, there's no big hit that wipes out either your player characters or the NPC like monsters or you know, opponents, adversaries. I remember when I ran Earthdawn 4th edition for the first time a few years ago, and I was dating a girl at the time, and it was her very first time ever playing a role-playing game. I wish I had run Dungeon World, because I think that was more intuitive and more newbie-friendly. But I ran Earthdawn. She took like a duck to water. She did a great job playing an Elven Thief. But the curious thing is that she had mentioned these combats are like bad horror movies. When will the bad guy die? And when she mentioned that, I couldn't help but think, yeah. Sometimes it's just these things drag on, and it's not so fun. It's kind of a drudgery to get through these combats. So it's just one of those things. I think part of it is that in playing a role-playing game, you need to figure out what you and your players' preferences are. Some people like the tactical combat with lots of choices and character options, and when you have that crunch and character options and choices, it tends to make combat last longer. Alright, you can have a combat in Earthdawn. All these combats I've had have lasted an hour. Sometimes people, when they talk about other versions of like D&D, they'll say their combats take 2 or 3 hours. That's ridiculous to me. But it makes you kind of want to play maybe a rules light game if you don't like those long combats. Either a game that are either ultra deadly and or their combat have ways of streamlining things, like I mentioned with games like Dungeon World, PBTA stuff, Powered by the Apocalypse kind of games. They can reduce their length. So I'm going to try some of those games in the future as well. Yeah, I might put some videos up there as well. I don't know how popular these videos are. Honestly, I would not watch this kind of a video. This would not be super thrilling to me to read along through a story and do the combats that take like an hour. But if you're trying to learn the game, maybe you'll find this useful, and it's more of a documentation of my playthrough and reviewing and refreshing on the rules, and it gives me a chance to go through the adventure. Anyways, I'll go ahead and get started. We left off with the characters interrogating the elves, and this is before they go to camp somewhere to find a place to heal, essentially away from the cave, because they don't know maybe that these guys have have friends and stuff that might make it a problem for them. So let's find this. Alright, so they're going to have to make a interrogation kind of roll. They have to make an interaction test, which is a charisma roll, or unless they have a suitable social skill. Okay, so let's see. Scorth has diplomacy. Scathra has conversation and seduction. Garn has diplomacy, but it's not as good as Scorth's. And Deza has conversation as well. And we'll double check these in the player's guide to see if any of these skills can be used here to improve the situation. I think they're talents, so I have to look there first. Alright, diplomacy. The adept mitigates disputes and influences the development of mutual interest by making a diplomacy test against the negotiating target's social defense. If successful, the negotiator's attitude towards his opponents improves by 1 degree for a number of hours equal to the adept's diplomacy rank. While this might not necessarily settle a dispute or prompt the target to sign a contract, the use of diplomacy usually helps to get the parties working together to approach the matter from a mutual perspective. That might be useful, but I don't know if that's actually what we'd use here. Conversation. The adept is able to make a favorable impression in a social situation through tone and word choice appropriate to the situation. The adept makes a conversation test against the highest social defense among the target group, +1 for each additional character. If successful, the attitude of the target characters rises favorably toward the adept by 1 degree, for example, from neutral to friendly, for the duration of the conversation for a number of days afterwards equal to the adept's conversation rank. The target's attitude cannot be improved further while the talent is in effect. The adept can use this talent on a maximum number of characters equal to his conversation rank at one time. Alright, those are those rules. That might be useful. However, if I remember correctly, the interaction tests, if you have somebody at the enemy state on your interaction test, I don't think they can move, or if they can move, it's really not much. So let me just look for where the interaction tests are in this book. We'll go further into that. Where would that be? I do not see it in the index. I wonder if it's in the GM's guide. Okay, interaction tests, page 144 in the GM's guide. Okay, so I did not see it in the player's guide. So, we've got some different things here. Making an impression, deceit, exaggeration, fabrication, half-truth, insight, intimidation. This is likely what we have to do, because it's a prisoner, it's a hostile situation. Okay. So forcing an action is likely what we're doing, because we're basically demanding answers to our questions. So forcing an action uses intimidation to try and make the target character perform a particular task they would otherwise not do. Examples include the leading the way into a dangerous cave or providing information they are trying to keep secret. There we go. So this is what we were doing. This is more difficult because the target needs to be convinced that the character's threat is more dangerous than the requested action, or two successes are required. So successes are required on the interaction test. An intimidated character stops performing the requested action as soon as they are out of the intimidator's sight. So we require two successes here for the take action intimidation. All right, cool. So we are going to use the character with the best charisma because it looks like it's just a base charisma roll. We use Scathra, and she's got basically 3 chances because they took 3 prisoners. So they're going to isolate the prisoners and do one at a time interrogation of them. And hopefully she can make 2 successes on one of these rolls so they can find out some information. Alright, let me find the bad guys. Stats. Alright, I found their stats. They have a social defense of 7. So she's got to roll a 7 or higher, but she really needs to roll a 12 because she needs 2 successes. So Scathra has a charisma of 6. So it's a D1. Alright, that's her first chance. Alright, second chance. 10. Alright, here we go. 10 plus 9, 19. Okay, so the second prisoner, she was able to get a 19. So that is actually 3 successes. So this is two additional successes more than she need. 2 additional successes. So she can probably ask a little bit more questions. All right. So they have a few options here. As questions the characters will likely ask. The first question is, why did you attack us? The third question is, who hired you? The second question is, who hired you? The third question is, where are our masters? So I think the first question that the players would likely ask is, where are our masters? And because they got 3 successes, I will count this as the excellent result in these options. This is the 3rd edition of the game, so it uses the further delineated version of the success chart, or it's basically levels of success. So here you've got average, good, excellent, extraordinary, and when you convert over from 5th edition, from 4th edition D&D, Earthdawn, geez, where am I going? When you convert over 4th edition Earthdawn, they suggest that an average success is 1 success, a good result is 2 successes, an excellent result is 3 successes, an extraordinary result is 4 or more successes. Alright, so this would count as an excellent result. So the excellent result answer is, they've been brought to Ardanyan. It's likely that they are dead now. Okay, so that's the answer that they get. So the player characters would likely ask, well, who has them? Who brought them? So we'll look at this. This would likely be, who hired you, right? So the excellent result here is, we work for the town council of Ardanyan. So there's a town called Ardanyan. However, this is kind of weird to the player characters who grew up in a Kaer, because the Kaer is called Kaer Ardanyan. So why would there also be a town called Ardanyan? This is throwing the characters off, especially since the town council has caused this. And if they ask the last question, why did you attack us? The excellent result would be, we guard this place. The caves are not to be entered. Alright, so somehow the characters are starting to come to the fact that there's something going around. They were told that their masters have been captured and brought to this town called Ardanyan. Ardanyan is nearby. They further question this guy, and they've learned that Ardanyan is a town that's close, that they could, travel to in a few days. And after milking him for whatever further information on how to get there, they will tie and gag these guys up and put them back in the cave. And then they will go camp in the woods for a few days to further heal. 2-3 days to heal, and then they will head into Ardanyan. Okay. However, again, smart player characters, though vicious, might just eliminate these guys so they do not cause a problem for the PCs. So, again, I'll leave it up to whatever group of characters would do. But it would be a pain to try to bring prisoners along with them to Ardanyan when those guys are probably working for the town of Ardanyan. So that would be an unrealistic thing to do. Again, whatever your characters would do. Alright. So now our player characters, again, take 2-3 days to heal up, and now they're headed to Ardanyan. Again, this is a whole new world for them. They've never been here. They asked about probably the nature of Ardanyan, like what's the city like, where to go, how to get in there, this kind of a thing. And they've probably have like a rudimentary map in their mind of at least where the entrance or exit is. There's Ardanyan itself in the city. There's an east gate and west gate. I can't remember which side Ardanyan is on, like the Kaer, in relation to Ardanyan, because that might explain where they go to enter into the city, which side or the other. I don't care. They're going to enter the west gate. It's fine. All right, so our characters will enter from the west gate on the third day, probably around noon or something. And they will head into the west gate, and when they do, they will have to perform, what is it, the rite of ritual or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but they have to do their artisan check when they arrive. And the reason they have to perform their artisan skill is to show that they are unmarked by the horrors. So each character will do this. One of my house rules is that all the characters start with 3 ranks in their artisan skill, because if you don't start with that high, there's a good chance that they're going to fail their artisan roll for entering in, and that's just kind of ridiculous. It doesn't fit the fiction. All right, the fiction should be they should be able to get show their artisan skill if they take the time to do so. Now you could always just role play it and say, okay, you do it. It takes you a little longer, and then you get through it. That's fine, because that's what you would do if there was a low roll. But if you're going to, give points, just it doesn't matter. It's not like it's a important skill for combat or something. This is a important skill for role playing. Give them a few extra ranks. It's fine. All right, I'm just trying to find it in the adventure book where the entrance is to the city. Like, what's the skill roll that they have to do to get in? Alright, so this chapter starts when the characters approach one of the town gates. The traffic is controlled by the town watch's second company, which is not, I won't read that. They have to perform the greeting ritual before being allowed to approach the guards. So this is an artisan skill check of 5. Okay, so we'll do Scathra first. her artisan skill is acting. Her rank, she's got 3 ranks in that, so her is 10. So 2, she's got to roll a 5 or higher. 11 plus 3 is 14. She gets through the beautiful show of, I guess would be something like Hamlet's soliloquy, just probably included something like that. Just the Earthdawn equivalent. Okay, she makes it through. Scorth has to do his. His is bone carving. Of course it is. He's Nethermancer. He makes it through with, his is a D8 plus D6. 5 right on the nose. He barely makes it. But, yeah, he gets through. Spends some time carving on bones and makes some beautiful artistry with that. Rune carving is Garn's artisan skill. 10, 13. He impresses them with his rune carving. And Deza's sculpting, D8, D6. 3. Oh, man. It's going to take her longer. She is pulled aside and given another additional time to try it again. And she fails again, and they are worried that she is horror marked or properly corrupted. So she's got a last chance. Dang. Okay, so this is when they refuse her and mark her probably as, forbidden from the city. That's one way to handle it. Though maybe the other characters could sneak her in. That is a way to handle this. Another way to do it is, again, don't roll, just role play. You can role play through and just come up with some explanation. One explanation is they just give her an hour long, or they put her under a rest for like an additional day to watch her for like 1 to 3 days, and then they let her out afterwards. That is an option. Okay. I would just play through and just say she made it. It just took much longer than though she expected. Maybe they even had to bribe a guard or two to give her another chance and duck some silver pieces from the party. It's one good way to do it. Okay. All right. So the party is through, and they have to make perception tests when they get through. They also have to pay a total of 2 silvers each for entering the town and using the bridge. So deduct that from the party. Alright, so everybody, while they're walking through the town, has to make a perception or an awareness check against a difficulty of 5. This would be good for the Game Master to not say what they're looking for, but instead just to have them roll. Scathro's awareness is 2d6. 5, she makes it. Scorth's awareness is d8 plus d6. He makes it, 7. Garn's awareness is with a d12. He fails, which makes sense story-wise. I'll tell you in a second. And let's see, Deza's awareness is d8 plus d6. 11. 13. Okay. So the 3 PCs who made their rolls recognize people from their Kaer. It's a weird feeling of deja vu, of like familiar faces, people that they've seen before. Okay? But when they pass by them, it's not really hitting them. That recently, so they're likely less feeling deja vu as much as the Winlet character. They just have a hunch, maybe, at least describing that feeling like deja vu or something's not right about the place. Okay. So they go into town. They ask about a tavern or an inn, and they're likely headed to the Silent Scream Inn. And let's see. While in town, this would be a good chance if you want to stretch out the role play. This would be a great opportunity to. When I've run this one before, I took a little bit of time to have the characters meet Wushtwhistle, a Tiskrang Swordmaster. He's third circle. Kadris, a fifth circle Obsidian. And these became potential allies for the group. They befriended them. The Obsidian, one of this interesting one of the role play opportunities here is if you're playing with an Obsidian in your party. Obsidian, when they meet each other for the first time, they try to remember their meeting by planting a tree together. So it is very likely that these two characters would go out somewhere, either in town or out of town, to plant a tree together to commemorate their meeting. Alright, so that's one thing that the Obsidian would do. Maybe they plant a pear tree. I'm very fond of those from childhood memories. So they go plant a pear tree. They befriend each other, and this could be a potential NPC ally that the group could use. Wushtwhistle, it's very likely that the Tiskrang, especially Scathra, would befriend Wushtwhistle because this could be a potential teacher, somebody who she could learn from because Wushtwhistle is third circle. One of the interesting things about Earthdawn is that it's the characters can use the game language of disciplines and circles. It's okay for a character in the game to say, I'm a third circle swordsmaster, because it's not just a gameable system thing, it's actually a fiction setting thing. They understand this would be like somebody saying, I'm a purple belt in karate or something. It means something. It's not just system language. Okay, so let's say again, these characters meet, they befriend each other, they find out where each other is staying, where they might be able to help them. Kadris offers his odd kind of earth home that's open to the sky to them, and they take him up on it, even though not particularly welcome for I guess the Tiskrang or the Windling, who are probably used to better accommodations more suitable to their name giver races. Obsidian are hardier, so yeah, they don't mind being outside of the elements. And so they spend some time going through and trying to ask Wushtwhistle and Kadris about the town. These characters give them the rumors of the town, and the rumors that they have to say are that something is fishy here, that things don't seem the way they appear, because this town is oddly really rich and developing rather quickly for a town that has only been like developing for the last less than 50 years. Okay, and within the last 20 years, it has exploded in wealth and resources and development. What started out as a little outskirt town with, let me see if I can find the map and I'll show you. It started out historically with the ring. Okay, originally started off as a ring, just a settlements basically, of a few buildings and stuff like that. And they had, what's the word, like a ring fort kind of thing with the fences around the city, or walls around the city. Their initial, like, tiny little community. It exploded after they fought off the Scorcher orc tribes in the region using, like, an elemental cannon. They were able to, like, secure safety, and then their population and wealth exploded again in the last 20 years especially. And nobody's really sure where this money and development has come from, and it's rather suspicious to anybody who's thought about it for any length of time. Okay, so they get the backdrop of that. What else? Alright, so one thing though, they probably do have safety at Cadrus's Earth home. That's again open to the sky. And they're probably safe with their friend Wushtwoosel, but these characters may or may not get involved with them, especially if the party tries to do something like find out where their masters are and cause a problem or a ruckus. They may or may not be friendly to that, but they could help out if the characters get over their heads. Okay, so let's see. From here, the characters would ask Wushtwoosel and Cadrus if they know anything about their masters, and these characters would know nothing about them. Okay? They have no idea of what's really going on, the secrets of the town. They don't know what's going on with their masters. So instead, what the characters will have to do is they will have to go to various inns and the marketplace and ask around. And when they start asking around, well, there are spies who were told to look out for these characters or look out for potential problems to the city's secret. So, this is when they come under suspicion of guards, of different city guards and different spies for the city. Alright. And one more thing. Eventually, after being in the town for a few days, what ends up happening is a squad of watchmen has been ordered to detain the heroes on charges of slavery. So, the characters are walking through town, and they've make a perception test or something like that, and they spot like wanted posters with their descriptions on it, and it says that they've are considered as slavers, and they are wanted for arrest. So, and that matches up with they're starting to get strange looks from people in the town, because honestly, Tiskrang, Obsidian, and Windlings are fairly rare, especially Windlings and Obsidian. They're very rare. So people are now looking at them, wondering who they are. They can only either travel at night or they're being spotted. And at some point in the adventure, let's just say it's at night, they were in an inn and somebody calls them out, and they call the guards because people are murmuring and saying the criminals, and they leave because there's a reward offered for the heads of these player characters now, 300 silver pieces each, dead or alive. So there is a squad of guards after them, running through the streets, and this is where you want to avoid a fight. Okay? Because if the characters stand up to fight for the guards, there's going to be guards that keep coming, and they will lose. So try to telegraph to your players to avoid this fight. Honestly, they would likely just make dexterity rolls or any other roll that might be appropriate and see if they can escape the scene. So we'll do that with the characters. Scorth. A 3, probably not great for Scorth. Let's roll for a different character. That was cocked. Scathra, 10 plus 7, 17 for Scathra. She's making it out fine. Garn, he's making it out fine. And Deza, I'm not even worried about her because she can fly, as long as it's not raining. Let's check to see if it's raining. Let's say 25% or less it's raining. It's not raining. So she's fine, she can fly. So we'll give Scorth one last chance. 3. So Scorth is not making it. He is not able to outrun the guards. Everybody splits in different directions. However, this is actually a good thing because the characters who fail the roll, they can discover an NPC helper. So this is actually a cool thing. Sometimes use those failures to introduce an NPC ally or to move the story along rather than make the character have to fight and battle alone and die alone, which would be awful. If you wanted to do a one-on-one combat with one guard who found him, that's fine too. Maybe he can take him out before the guard calls for additional watch. Okay, so it's at this point Skorth is aside, and somebody from the shadows calls out to him. And let's see. A young human thief named Tatu is in deep trouble himself, and he calls out to Skorth from the shadows and shows him his hiding spot, which is in like a cellar. Okay? And he explains to him that he'd be safe here with him, and they befriend each other, and they talk about how they could further help each other, and eventually Skorth, when the coast is clear, maybe after a few hours, Skorth and Tatu meet with the rest of the party where they agreed to meet at if they got into trouble, which is probably the Obsidian Cadrus's house. They meet there a few hours later, and Tatu is very helpful because he is a second circle thief. He knows the lay of the land. He was he is being tracked or chased by the local thieves guild because of something he's gotten involved with. So let's see. I'm just trying to find the section that in his description that would mention this. So what happened recently, he was in a deal with some dwarves who deciphered some documents and contacted some friends about some mining opportunities in some caves nearby. And let's see, Tatu was going to help with this, and it's in this issue that he witnessed the dwarves being taken as prisoners, accused of being slavers. Now these were friends of Tatu. He knew that these guys were not slavers. He knew that they are being falsely accused and falsely imprisoned, and he is doing his best to figure out a way to set his friends free. He understands that his friends are being held in the cellars of the council house, and likely being either interrogated or held against their will, and under false accusations. So he wants to sneak in, but this has all happened recently over the last few days, and he doesn't know how to get them out himself. And hey, wouldn't you know, there's a band of adepts here, a band of heroes that could help him. So maybe that their masters are imprisoned there too. If they've been imprisoned, it's likely that they're held under the council house in the cellars. So he has cased the place, and he has told the player characters of the situation. And the situation looks something like this. There are always 2 guards in the front. There are usually 2 guards in the back that either walk guard duty and or hang out and drink and gamble. And there are usually 4 watchdogs in the back. This is the front street, so it's always busy in the front of the building. And those 2 guards, there's always two present who are just shift and rotation, only allowed to leave their post when they're replaced. And there's typically multiple guards in the back of the building. He talks about how these 2 rooms are meeting rooms. These are some hallways. There's a tax assessor or something like that office there, and there's some other room there. He believes the stairs. He believes that the stairs are either in the main hall or in the tax collector's office. There's another level above. Maybe they could find other things there. And there's also the roof that has the cannon, the elemental cannon. But below there is a cellar, and that's where he believes his dwarven friends are being kept. So the player characters realize it's this was almost like a divine appointment. They are supposed to help each other out here mutually to save their friends that are being kept in the cellar prison. They just have to figure out a way into this building. So that's where the characters have to figure out what to do. If they go through the main entrance, they've got 2 guards there. Okay, it's not going to be easy for them to do that. They'll have to fight 2 guards, or trick them, or seduce them, or something, and that's not an easy thing when it's 2 guards at once. Of course, they could try the back, but have to deal with 4 guard dogs. So, depending on your group makeup, you'll have some different choices that you can make. If you have like just a ruthless group, yeah, they can go in and do a full frontal attack on the 2 guards. That's a way of doing it. Yeah. Of course, they'll call more guards, and they'll be faced with at least 4 guards, if not more. They would have to strike at night to recommends, because during the day there's all kinds of people flowing in and out. So it's got to be a night attack, and it's better to use stealth. So maybe if you had a Beastmaster, the Beastmaster could deal with the dogs. What my player characters did is they really were like, if this was D&D, we would just cast a sleep spell on the dogs, and that would be that. And then we'd send the thief in to be all stealthy, make sure the coast was clear. Yeah, that's an option if you have, sleep spell, but Earthdawn doesn't have that. So what my player characters did is they said, they tried to do some type of sleep potion or poison, and they drugged some meat, some steaks, and the windling flew over from up high and dropped the drugged steaks down to the dogs, and the dogs were poisoned to sleep, not die, of course. And I can't remember what poison they used. I can't remember if this was something that they found in the GM's guide or something I just made up on the moment, because I had a bunch of animal lovers and they did not relish the idea of just murdering dogs. Guards, sure, that's no big deal. Dogs, though, yeah, that's people don't like killing dogs, even if they're guard dogs. So we just had a workaround there with a sleep potion. It cost them pretty much all of their cash that they had, though. I'm trying to think what other options you could do your player characters. Again, you could do some type of distraction. If any of your PCs have the distract talent, that could be useful here. Distract a guard while the other one, maybe the other rest of the group bum rush the other ones. Maybe you can lure them into an alley. Lots of choices. Okay. So let me see what these characters will do. Let me see what kind of spells they have. Kind of limited. Deza has air armor, earth darts, heat food, air mattress, and mantle of the woodland hunter. None of those are really applicable here. And Scorth has astral spear, bone circle, dark messenger, experience, death, life circle of 1, spirit dart, and soul armor. Again, none of those are really all that applicable. Deza has stealthy stride as a skill, and she can fly, and she's really small. Her and Tatu could sneak in somehow, maybe and open some windows for the player characters to sneak in from a side entrance. That might be a good option, because if they try to go in through the back, the dogs will pick them up. If they try to go in through the front, the guards will pick them up. So in the book, the real layout is like this, and there's all kinds of windows. So what they could do is try to get into one of the windows from the side. And that would probably be the safest. Now, the ground floor, I will do a quick look at this. I know that the doors are strong wood, and the description in here says a physical armor of 9, a death rating of 30, and a lock picking of 7 is required to open any of the entrance locks. All doors and windows are usually closed, although the doors are locked only during the night. A successful lock picking in a test is required to open any of the entrance locks, which I imagine might include windows. I think windows typically have locks, but as much as that they have an interior lock, maybe the characters can figure out a way to open it or use some kind of glass cutting tool. Either way, it's still this lock picking roll of 7. So what the group would do is everybody would sneak into town late at night. They would probably come to either this room or this room. The first two would be to 2 and the Windling. They will sneak in and see if they can open the lock on the door. So first they'll do their stealthy stride rolls first, see if they can get through. Deza has her stealthy stride of 2d6. 10 and to 2. His stealthy stride or silent walk in this edition of the game is also an 8, so 2d6. 5. So it's night out. The guards over here have to see if they hear these guys or see these guys sneaking in. So let me flip over to the guards. What are the guard stats? Let's see. Ardanyan, middle fence. Guards. I've missed somewhere in the text that has mentioned the stats for the guards. Might be in a different section in this book. Alright, typical town watchman. That could be it. The only thing is, I think that these guards might be the initiates of the order, which is a little different. Let's just say these are the typical town watchmen. Alright, so their perception is a 6. So we've got a 5 and a 10 to beat with a d10. First one rolls a 1. Second one rolls a 6. So, to 2 makes some kind of noise. And this guard says, I'll stay here. This guard will come around. Do they hear him sneaking over? That was her awareness 6. I don't remember his awareness, but he rolls well. So they do sense that someone is coming, and they do try to essentially duck behind another alley or something like that, or some bushes. So they're going to do a stealthy stride. Actually, what they'd probably do is the Windling would tie a rope onto the roof, and maybe he would pull himself up. Let's see if they have enough time to do that. Here is the stealthy stride for Deza. Here is the, where's to 2's stats? To 2's stats is a d8 for silent walk. 6. check, and let's see if this guy perceives them. Not with a 2. So they are able to just get out of the way, either into some bushes or the roof trick. I don't think the roof trick is feasible. It's not. It would take too long. So they duck into another alley or hide into some bushes. Great. He comes around, doesn't see anything, and comes back eventually. They make another attempt to sneak over without being heard. 10, 11. 3. Okay, great. 3 and 7. So again, I swore I heard something, and he's coming back. So this can be a little tedious. They're not getting the opportunity to maybe that they wanted to. The rest of the group is hiding further around another side of a building, perhaps, and so they can jump in if necessary. So I'm going to say that he does spot them, and what happens is that they try to jump this guy instead with a grapple check by the Obsidian to grab him around the mouth and to keep him silent so he doesn't provoke an alarm. Alright, so Garn will make a let's do his Tiger Spring initiative to see if he beats this guy's initiative when he comes around the corner. First off, is Garn seen when jumping out like this at the guy? His dex is a 6, 10 plus 10, 20, 21. He just looked like a block of rock behind a bush, and suddenly he moved like a cat at 21. Okay, and this guy's perception, I think I said, was a 6. So 1, he is totally oblivious to Garn leaping up at him. So this guy is going to be ambushed. He's not going to be able to react. I don't have to roll his Tiger Spring after all. And instead, Garn will make an unarmed attack using the melee weapon skill. That's subs for it in my game. D8, D6, and he'll use a Karma die to silence him. 10, 11 plus 6 is 17. And in order to grapple successfully, you have to get an additional success on the guy's physical defense. So his physical defense is a 7, additional success would be a 12. That beats it. So not only that, it beats it with an additional further success. So yeah, they totally silence the guy, they've muffled his mouth, and they're able to tie him up with this whole group. Some things are just better role played than just doing with the rules. The rules would overcomplicate this. Alright, so the group jumps the guy, ties him up, steal his clothes. It's dark out, so what they're going to do is maybe wait for the other guy to come around and jump him too. And they'll probably just go through the front door if that's the case. While the rest of the group is preparing to jump the next guy if the guard comes around, Tatu is trying to unlock the window. His lock picking is a 9, so D8, D6. 10, that beats the 7, so he gets into the window without a problem. And they've tied and bound this guy, and they're trying to figure out what to do, because this guard will likely come around, and if he doesn't, well, they'll have to figure out something. They could either go through and bring the other guard with them, or they could go around and fight this guy or wait for him to come around. So let's see, how many rounds will it take for this guard to come around? 4 rounds. So he's waiting, more or less 30 seconds in addition to what just happened over here until he's going to come around. I, as a GM, know that. The player characters don't. So Tatu and the Windling do go inside. The rest of the group is waiting to go inside. They shove him back here. Actually, they tie him up and shove him in here. That's fine. And they again are ready to jump this guy. He comes around. Eventually, he comes around. They're silently waiting. Does he perceive them? His perception is a step 6, a 5. And I think that's not going to be enough to hide from them for their ambush when they jump him. Let me just double check the ambushing rules. Make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, it's not in the player's guide in the index. Let's look to see if it's in the GM's guide. It's index. Ambush, page 250 in the Game Master's Guide. Oh, that's a creature ability in here. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Okay, where would this be in the game book then? I wonder if it would be in combat, maybe? Trying to see where it might go. Types of combat. Alright, surprise. That's the word I was looking for. Okay. From time to time, characters and creatures appear in unexpected places. This may be an intentional tactic, as when a group plans an ambush, or an accidental encounter, as when a creature suddenly appears from behind a tree in the forest. In either case, those caught off guard may be surprised. Surprised characters cannot take any actions during the combat round in which they are surprised. They also suffer a -3 penalty to their physical and mystic defense during the same round. Last a combat round. Alright, to determine whether a character is surprised, he makes a perception test against a difficulty number based on the situation. This is usually equal to the lowest dexterity step among the characters or creatures encountered, but is otherwise determined by the Game Master. Alright, so the lowest dexterity step is a step 6. So this guy has to make a perception test against a 6. And his perception is a 6, so he's rolling a d10. I'm going to double check to see if he has awareness as an ability, but a skill. He does not. He's a typical guard. 3. Alright, so he does not see them coming. So because of that, he suffers a -3 to his physical and mystic defense. And so our Obsidian is going to do the same thing. He's going to do another melee attack as unarmed combat. D6, D8, and he's going to roll another of his karma. Obsidian don't have much karma, so this is tough. He rolls an 11. Now normally this guard would have a physical defense of 7. But because he has been ambushed and surprised, it's -3, so it's 4. So 4 plus 5 is 9. So the guard is successfully grappled. Okay? And the rest of the group, gag him, tie him up, and secure him so that they can enter the building without problem. Okay? They've gagged these two guys. They've dragged them through the window. They look over and find keys on them so they can get in and out if they had to or wanted to. They leave them in the corner inside the building, and they enter into the building where they can go exploring from here. Tatu thinks that they need to go to the basement, the cellar from the tax collector's office. They probably don't need to search around further unless they just want to. And that's where I'll leave this video.